Chapter 91. Fat Sheep. As Su Feng leisurely wrote his guides, elsewhere, the atmosphere was filled with intensity and anticipation. Slam. Can someone explain to me how did that gentle wind completed the hell mode difficulty? A ferocious roar echoed throughout a private inn room as his palms slammed on the wooden table. Standing in the middle of the room was Harold Fist, a towering figure with a muscular build that seemed almost too large for the confines of the inn. His eyes blazed with fury beneath a furrowed brow, and his clenched fists trembled with barely restrained rage. The inn was filled with 4 other people aside from him, and they were all supposedly his trusted and capable subordinates. Yet at the current moment, Harold Fist felt like these subordinates were a bunch of different people. Just how incompetent could they be? Arnold Lance, how about you? Harold Fist turned to the man who clearly wished to hide himself at the moment. Have you increased the pressure and gathered public support in pressuring Gentle Wind to reveal her method? Smiling bitterly, Ardent Lance responded, reporting to the guild leader, the matter has already been done, but Gentle Wind seemed to turn a blind eye to it. Also, the public doesn't really seem to care much about her post. What? Harold Fist raised his eyebrow as he glared at Ardent Lance. Did you even do your job properly? Almost having his ears bud erupted from the shouting, Ardent Lance wanted to curse Harold Fist silently in his mind. He was already doing his very best to rile the crowd up, but never did he expect Gentle Wind to be even more decisive and cruel. That Gentle Wind, to increase her recruitment process, she even offered up items from the Scorched Caverns to even the new people who enter the guild after completing a certain amount of merits. Just how am I supposed to compete with that? Ardent Lance exclaimed inwardly, wanting to shout back at Harold Fist with those reasonings. However, he knew better than to keep his mouth shut and lower his head. After all, Harold Fist wasn't an idiot either. He merely called for such a meeting to vent his frustration since he was clearly scolded by his father and probably the board directors for his incompetence this time. It wasn't just Ardent Lance that understood this point, but the other 3 fellow guild members in the inn also understood this. Hence, none of them dared to utter much sound. This was the reality and sad life for those who needed to rely on this kind of paycheck to survive. Bunch of useless people. Harold Fist scoffed, as he knew not a single one of them was going to fall for his scheme of letting him vent further. As his anger peaked to a new height, he suddenly received a message notification. Huh? Lotus Lime? What does this bitch want? Confused by the sender, Harold Fist opened a message with a skeptical mindset. Lotus Lime, heard you are in quite the dilemma. Without the fire resistance potions, do you even have a chance to continue an attempt at an already completed raid? Originally, Harold Fist was furious and was just trying to vent some anger, but this message from Lotus Lime was like poking at an already provoked hornet's nest. Steam seemed to be rising up from his head as Harold Fist ordered the rest to leave the inn at this instant. He was afraid of losing his temper completely and bashing them. Out! All of you get out! He roared in a thunderous voice. Ardent Lance and the other 3 guild members felt as if they had been pardoned. Not even hesitating a bit, they swiftly left the inn, leaving Harold Fist alone. As the private inn only remained Harold Fist, a surprising turn of events took place. The previous infuriated Harold Fist seemed to have vanished, replaced with a more calm and collected version. Taking a seat down, Harold Fist breathed naturally as he began responding. Harold Fist, let me guess you want to resell those potions to me? Lotus Lime, you got it. These potions are useless to me since Gentle Wind already snagged the glory and achievement. But I suppose you still need it for future endeavors, right? I don't mind selling it to you at 10 times the price. Harold Fist snickered coldly when he deduced the intention of Lotus Lime. Alas, she failed to realize one thing. If you had sent this earlier and didn't wait until now, then maybe I would have fallen into your trap. He exclaimed inwardly. Harold Fist, you look for the wrong person, Lotus Lime. Go find another buyer. After sending that message, Harold Fist closed the message as he opened a new contact. Harold Fist, give me a copy of the basic guide first. It'll purchase half the deposit, and if the guide is indeed effective, Then I pay you extra for the remaining half. Anonymous user. Happy to do business with you. I sent an attachment of the contract, and you can read it over before signing. On the other side, Su Feng snickered evilly when he managed to attract a fat sheep into buying his basic guide. With the way he's acting, he's definitely trying to prove himself. Can he even resist my offer when I practically extend a saving grace hand? He smirked coldly. As for ethics and doing a favor for Gentle Wind's rival, that was not his problem. He merely had a business relationship with her, so what was wrong in doing business with other paying customers? Money doesn't recognize people, but people definitely recognize money. And it would be a sin to lose money for a dumb reason like loyalty. Wasn't he kicked out like an abandoned dog for believing in something like loyalty? Loyalty is only reserved for those deserving, and even then, it's a bare minimum. He mumbled, having received the contract signed by Harold Fist. The fat sheep has been hooked. Chapter 92. 92. Strikes again, others might think Su Feng was blinded by greed for selling his basic guide to Harold Fist, especially the likes of Gentle Wind and Autumn Breeze, if they got wind of this matter. However, what they didn't know was that Su Feng not only planned to get money from Harold Fist, but he was also using the latter to advertise for him. What better way to advertise the guide as credible and amazing than if the known irrational and furious Harold Fist approved of it? Such people like him are usually convincing, especially when they know about his fiery temper. It took me a while to finally recall the name, Harold Fist. He's Zhang Tai Quan, heir of the Zhang's group. There's no way such a person is really irrational and prone to anger. Su Feng sneered inwardly. The Zhang's group was a multi-international technology company, with many subsidiaries under them. If such a person was able to remain as heir despite their anger issues, then that was the real, suspicious matter. After all, Zhang's group was a public trading company, meaning even the president and CEO would have to answer to the shareholders and public regarding their business and sales. It was a stark contrast to a private company, in which one family could completely dominate the decision of the company regardless of public opinion. But why does the family name Zhang sound familiar? Su Feng suddenly pondered. He felt that he had heard of this name just recently, but couldn't recall it. And since he couldn't recall the matter, then it meant one thing. It wasn't an important matter. Sometime later, Harold Fist deposited half the payment to his bank account. Su Feng curled his lips upward at the stinginess and cautiousness of Harold Fist to make such a bargain. One might think Harold Fist would spend recklessly as shown in public, but that was merely a facade to deceive others. Thank you for making me feel even less guilty about using you as an advertisement without paying you a single cent. He chuckled and proceeded to send the basic guide to him. Once that was done, Su Feng opened his other message contact, namely Gentle Wind and One Man Media. To spread this news, it naturally needed a middleman and someone who was known to post information already to do the deed. As for Gentle Wind, he did promise to let her be the first customer in the extensive guide version, of course, with a big price tag added along for such a privilege. How much should I charge her? Su Feng muttered. For Harold Fist's basic guide, he asked for 100 silver coins, equivalent to around $100,000. And Harold Fist already coughed up $50,000, given he was short on silver coins. After all, the person with the most in-game currency was him. No one else could possibly have more than him when he was the one manipulating and controlling the market. Whenever he sold the silver coins for dollars, he would receive the silver coins in return when these lovely players purchased his items. In other words, the circulation of in-game currency always goes back to his pocket to be sold again. Rinse and repeat. How could he not be the wealthiest player? The extensive guide is at least 10 times better than the basic and used up most of my effort. ITLL be a shame if I don't charge $200,000. Su Feng thought to himself. Although he couldn't recall the name Gentle Wind, he recalled Harold Fist. For Gentle Wind to be capable of rivaling Harold Fist meant that her flow of cash was high, especially with how easygoing and straightforward she was when raising the offer. Sending a message to her while attaching the contract, Su Feng patiently waited for this cash cow to pay up. Anonymous user, I have the extensive guide ready. You are the first to receive such a benefit, And as your privilege, I will delay the sale of this for 12 hours, albeit with an extra fee. You can pay 200 silver coins or $250,000. Gentle Wind. I signed the contract and sent the payment already. Anonymous user. Happy to do business with such a straightforward person. As a bonus, they'll let you know that Harold Fist has purchased the basic guide from me already, but fret not. The basic guide is far inferior to the ones you just purchased. Su Feng was quite pleased with her decisiveness that he decided to give her some inside information. Of course, that kind of information was going to be revealed anyway, but by wording it this way, he was essentially making Gentle Wind owe him a favor. It was killing two birds with one stone, so how could he possibly not capitalize on it? Meanwhile, in another private and located at Riverwood Town, Autumn Breeze was baffled by Gentle Wind's decisiveness. You know he just strikes again, right? Autumn Breeze said, feeling somewhat exasperated. He's just treating you like a cash cow, and you just easily gave in like that? What can I do then? Gentle Wind kept a calm expression on the surface as she responded. Who else but him has such an extensive guide? I bet it was thanks to Lin Feng's assistance that this person can create such an extensive guide. Then you should have just let me contact Lin Feng and ask him secretly. I would have done that if it was possible. From our 2 attempts previously, it's clear that Lin Feng doesn't want to interact with us much aside from business talk. Gentle Wind sighed softly. Truth be told, she was feeling very envious of Su Feng for having such a loyal subordinate, without knowing it was the same person all along. Autumn Breeze also sighed, as well as she had never met such a difficult individual to deal with. Both this person and Lin Feng seem to have popped out of nowhere. Both are so mysterious, yet so informative and have everything under their control. Sometimes I wonder if they are the creator of the divine world and are just toying with us. She took a seat and smiled bitterly. Chapter 93. 93. Stepbrother Gentle Wind was silent when she heard Autumn Breeze mention the possibility of Lin Feng and his boss being the creator of the divine world. After all, this was possibly the only plausible explanation as to why they were so knowledgeable and controlled the momentum from start to finish. As much as I want to believe that's the case, it's most likely because they have put in more effort behind the scenes that we don't know of. Gentle Wind bit her lips softly and said, by saying this, it was equivalent to admitting that she was inferior to someone and was being led on by the nose. Autumn Breeze nodded her head. Throughout the years, it had always been her controlling others and commanding them what to do. How long has it been since I felt like I was being controlled by others? Autumn Breeze chuckled softly and asked. Although it's not a good feeling, I have to say it's a fresh experience. This Lin Feng and his mysterious boss, the more I interact with them, the more I want to pry into their secrets. She added, her competitive nature rising up. Oh, you're not planning on playing a naive and impulsive character anymore? Gentle Wind curled her lips upward in amusement. Only for them, Autumn Breeze quickly corrected. I don't want to think too much when playing a game when my real life is already giving me enough pressure. Speaking of that, don't you have a meeting soon? Gentle Wind inquired. All right, time went by so quick. Autumn Breeze clasped her hands, having realized that she was about to miss the meeting. She merely used her break to log in for a while to assist Gentle Wind. Are you fine by yourself? She asked in concern. I'm fine. I don't wish to hinder your work. Excellent. Gentle Wind flashed a warm smile. The extensive guide would require me to brood over, and I still have 12 hours before he proceeds to release it. Nodding, Autumn Breeze subsequently logged out, her character turning into tiny particles as she returned to the real world. Zhao Zin's eyes fluttered open as the gaming capsule smoothly opened with a soft hiss. She sat up, adjusting to the ambient lighting of her sleek, modern CEO office. The office was a blend of cutting-edge technology and elegant design, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city skyline. She stretched briefly, her tailored business suit impeccably unwrinkled despite the hours spent in virtual reality. The digital interfaces on her desk came to life as she stepped out of the capsule and walked to her desk. The stocks are looking good, and it seems like the other business deals are going smoothly. Zhao Xian muttered, her eyes staring at multiple data simultaneously effortlessly. While browsing through the data and getting ready for a shareholder meeting, she received a notification from her father. What does he want? Confused, Zhao Xin opened up the message by tapping on the hologram screen and opening it. Zhao Yang, my dear daughter, can you contact your stepbrother? He hasn't been answering my call, and he only listens to you. What kind of nonsensical play is father up to now? Zhao Xin rolled her eyes. For him to suddenly be concerned for her stepbrother was a hilarious moment. Had it not been for her vouching for him to grandfather, then Zhao Yang would have given zero damn about him. Or maybe it was because of her vouch that her stepbrother now held some value since her grandfather was looking to give some opportunity to him. Finding it a nuisance to even entertain her scheme-driven father, Zhao Xin trashed the message and pretended that it had never been sent to her. She vouched for her stepbrother not because she wanted to use him, but because he was still running the blood of the Zhao family. To allow him to be left outside without any support, she couldn't do it, especially when he was not a threat at all. His interest in business was non-existent and only wanted to live a carefree life. Nevertheless, Zhao Xin was somewhat concerned about how her father was unable to contact him. Thus, she proceeded to open her contact list with a name labeled Zhao Kai. She decided to check up on him for a while and wondered if he still needed some allowance. Dialing his number, she patiently waited for the latter to pick up. However, a few minutes went by, and the call soon went to voicemail. He's not picking up my phone either? Zhao Xin was surprised, wondering if he was truly busy with something. The last time he failed to pick up her phone call was because he was overwhelmed with tasks or was helping his so-called brother. He's probably busy helping that so-called Su Feng again. Just how much of a busybody do you want to be when you can barely help yourself, little Kai? Zhao Xin knitted her brows and wondered if he had been led astray. Just when Zhao Xin was wondering if she should deal with Su Feng, she received a call from her personal assistant, Anna Liu. Miss Xin, the shareholders are starting soon, and most of the people have already. Anna Liu's voice resounded, her tone somewhat anxious. Oh, who else besides me hasn't arrived yet? Amused, she wondered who was trying to show off by being late. As the CEO, it was natural for her to be the last one to arrive. So for someone to attempt to arrive later than her was clearly a challenge to her authority. However, even after a few seconds, her assistant still hasn't responded to her. This mere reaction alone was enough for Zhao Xin to understand just who the late arrivals were. Okay, no need to answer me, Anna. It's probably my two dearest eldest brothers, Zhao Ming and Zhao Hong, putting on a show again. Zhao Xin said in a stoic tone. She was used to them acting in such a manner and wondered if she had been too lenient with them. If they dare to bring up some nonsense, then I don't mind sending them to be a delivery man. Chapter 94. Shareholders meeting. After getting her materials ready, Zhao Xin walked toward the exit door of her office. As she neared the exit door, it scanned her swiftly and automatically opened for her. A creaking sound was made as the door slowly opened, and Anna Liu bowed her head slightly as a greeting. She wore a crisp white blouse tucked into a sleek black short skirt, complemented by sheer pantyhose that highlighted her toned legs. Her dark hair was neatly styled into a bob, and she completed the look with black heels and minimalist jewelry, exuding both competence and elegance. Any news of their time of arrival? Zhao Xin walked past her and asked, exuding a domineering aura. Anna Liu followed slightly behind her and answered, according to their secretaries, they should arrive around 10 minutes or so. So, in other words, if I don't show up, they won't show up. How childish of them. Zhao Xin snorted coldly. Miss Xin, I've heard some rumors that your two eldest brothers are trying to complain about you in this meeting. Anna Liu revealed, unsure if the rumors were true. Despite this, she decided it was best to inform Zhao Xin of the matter. If the rumors were false, then nothing bad would happen. However, if the rumors were indeed true, then at least she had given Zhao Xin a heads up on what to expect. Yet much to Anna Liu's astonishment, Zhao Xin seemed to have anticipated this already. It indeed seems like my eldest brothers are quite free. Since that's the case, then I don't mind giving them some heavy-duty tasks. Zhao Zin's expression darkened. She had purposely set up this trap for them when she decided to assist Feng Qingro. Nevertheless, she never actually planned to utilize the traps if her eldest brothers knew better than to pick up a fight with her. Alas, it was just a shame that she understood their mindset very clearly and knew they were definitely not going to miss a chance to damage her reputation and honor in front of all the shareholders. My two petty eldest brothers, why can't you all just stay put and be docile like little Kai? Why must you force my hand? Zhao Xian smiled bitterly. Sometime later, Anna Lu opened the meeting door and stepped aside, letting Zhao Xian enter first. With an air of confidence and dominance, Zhao Zin's footsteps echoed throughout the meeting room. The room featured a large, interactive digital table surrounded by sleek, ergonomic chairs. High-definition screens on the walls displayed real-time data, and a holographic projector hung from the ceiling, ready for presentations. Seated around the table were 5 key shareholders. Mr. Li, a seasoned investor, reviewed his portfolio on a tablet. Ms. Chun, a venture capitalist, adjusted her glasses as she scanned the meeting agenda. Dr. Wang, a biotech magnate, quietly observed with his hands folded. Mr. Zhou, an influential tech entrepreneur, checked emails on his phone, and Mrs. Hu, a prominent real estate mogul, took notes on her laptop. As Zhao Xian took the center seat, there were noticeably 2 empty seats, but she ignored it temporarily. Good evening, shareholders of the Zhang Enterprise. She promptly greeted them with an authoritative tone. They may be shareholders and have a say in the company, but ultimately, the decision maker was hers, so she needed to ensure everyone knew their place. Yes, CEO Xian, I want to hear about your thoughts regarding the current hype of the virtual game, Divine World. Mr. Li was the first to speak out as he inquired about her for the details. As you know, virtual reality is already like another part of our life. And as these games become more and more realistic, the market value is unimaginable. I dare say its value surpasses the cryptocurrency era. He added, giving his input on the overview. The other shareholders nodded their heads, clearly in agreement with Mr. Li's analysis. As the shareholders started to discuss among themselves, Zhao Xian smiled softly at the direction of the conversation. What Mr. Li just said is exactly why I ordered this meeting in the first place. She suddenly announced. Nowadays, businesses do not just revolve around the real world, but the virtual world and the divine world. I have personally tested myself, and it's at a whole new level. A whole new level? Mrs. Hu was astonished as she raised an eyebrow, seemingly intrigued by her meaning. Does CEO Xian mean to say that the virtual world is akin to the real world? Yes, and the benefits and synchronization of the divine world have never been seen before. Thus, I want to hear your thoughts on beginning a multi-billion project, namely Project Genesis. The main focus of it is to establish a foothold in the divine world. Zhao Xian revealed, sending a cold shiver down everyone's spine as they felt a wave of suffocation. Clearly, they were not expecting to receive such a nuclear bomb revelation in this meeting. Hesitation flashed across their faces upon hearing the idea of Project Genesis. On one hand, they knew the value of the virtual world, but on the other hand, they were unsure if it was worth risking billions of dollars on the project. As everyone was hesitating on such a big decision, Mr. Zhou suddenly mustered up his courage, gazed at Zhao Xian, and asked, if we invest in this project, what is the expected return value? Zhao Xian remained silent for a second before flashing 5 of her slender fingers. At least 5 times the return value is guaranteed. Gasp! 5 times the return value? Doesn't that mean this project can turn into a trillionaire success? This is unbelievable. Despite their wealth, for an investment that could result in a trillion return value, who could stay calm and collected? Not to mention, they didn't doubt Zhao Zin's words since she had stated them herself. Her trust was built and gained upon effort and results, not some flowery words or promises. Right at the peak of the excitement, the meeting door was suddenly barged open, followed by a snarky tone. Ha! Little sister really knows how to boast. Are you sure it's a 5 times return and not a 5 times loss for the Zhang Enterprise? Chapter 95, 95. Trapped Zhao Xin's smile remained unchanged as she turned to face the intruders. Her two eldest brothers, Zhao Ming and Zhao Heng, walked into the meeting room with smug expressions. Zhao Ming, the older of the two, wore a sharp gray suit and carried an air of arrogance, his eyes gleaming with the anticipation of undermining his sister. Zhao Heng, slightly more reserved but equally ambitious, followed closely, his gaze fixed on Zhao Xian with a mixture of rivalry and disdain. Little sister, it's not that this elder brother wants to demean you, but aren't you being quite dishonest with our shareholders? Zhao Ming said with a tone of sympathy, almost as if he felt bad for lecturing her. Elder brother is right. You should be honest with the shareholders and how your actions are harming our Zhang enterprise instead. Zhao Heng fanned the flame from the sides. The two of them were clearly in a cahoot, acting and supporting each other's claim to demoralize Zhao Xian, as well as her leadership ability. The shareholders glanced at each other, seemingly confused by the two brothers' statement. Shareholders, you might not know this, but our dear CEO is trying to cause a war with the Feng enterprise. Zhao Ming turned to the shareholders and with a cold smirk, revealed the issues. It was a good thing he planted some spies in the company to oversee any movement or suspicious activities. Had he not planted them, he would have missed out that her dear sister had secretly sent a few core employees to assist her friend, Feng Qingro. You really know how to dig a hole to trap yourself? Zhao Xian. Zhao Ming sneered inwardly, clearly in anticipation of how her downfall would be. Meanwhile, the shareholders were somewhat in shambles, clearly not expecting Zhao Xian to jeopardize the company. Is this true, CEO Xian? Ms. Chun held a doubtful look as she stared at Zhao Xian, hoping it was just a false accusation. However, to her disappointment, Zhao Xian nodded her head. How could you do this? Ms. Chen was dumbfounded and frowned deeply. As a capitalist, her main objective was to earn money, but if the Zhao enterprise was really starting a war with the Feng enterprise, then how was she supposed to earn any money? No, she would lose a large amount of money. CEO Xian, before Ms. Chan could start complaining, Zhao Xian interrupted her and smiled brightly at everyone. Everyone seemed to have a misconception of something. Zhao Xian chuckled softly. Dear sister, what misconception are you talking about? I've heard that some of the people in the Feng enterprise were displeased with your actions in assisting Feng Qingro already. Zhao Heng snickered coldly, pouring more oil into the fire, hoping the situation would fester more and explode into chaos. Displeased? Zhao Xian raised an eyebrow, turned to Zhao Heng, and mocked. Are you talking about those useless people who are barely hanging on? Just when Zhao Heng wanted to retort, Zhao Ming suddenly extended his hand, stopping him from speaking further. For some reason, he felt something was amiss here. Zhao Xian was too calm, almost like she expected them to barge here and bring up this matter. Meanwhile, Zhao Xian ignored her two brothers and turned to the agitated Ms. Chun. Ms. Chun, I hope you can take a few minutes to listen to me first before deciding your next action. Although agitated, her rationality soon returned as she took a deep breath and nodded. As much as she was disappointed, she hoped that her eyesight wasn't wrong when she chose to trust Zhao Xian. Having gained the approval of Ms. Chun, Zhao Xian gazed at the remaining shareholders, who all nodded their heads, giving their silent approval to listen to her explanation. Anna, open up the file G69. Zhao Xian snapped her fingers and instructed. Anna Lu, who was standing quietly in the back, quickly went to work and opened up the file. Hell, what can she even do? Zhao Heng snickered coldly. He believed Zhao Xian was merely making a final struggle and delaying the inevitable. However, when he noticed his elder brother had a gloomy expression on his face, he was confused. What's the matter, elder brother? He asked. Zhao Ming remained silent, his lips twitching uncontrollably, his hands closing and opening, almost as if he was having a seizure. Stunned, Zhao Heng decided to turn to the projector screen, and as his eyes laid on the images, he nearly lost his footing. He quickly turned to Zhao Xian, only to realize the latter was smiling menacingly. Everyone, These images were taken and sent by an anonymous person, and after some investigation, I discovered my two brothers were actually dabbling into the internal affair of the Feng enterprise while causing harm to our business. Zhao Xin explained the images in which her two brothers were drinking merrily in a club with a few people along with many women to accompany them. So yes, I'm going to war with the Feng enterprise, but not quite. I'm only after these people who have harmed our roots, so I decided to give some funds and manpower to my friend, Feng Qingro. She's my good friend, so when she gets control of the Feng enterprise, our two enterprises could ally, making us stronger than ever. Shocked, amazement, disbelief, and all kinds of expressions were shown across the meeting room. The shareholders' initial disappointment turned to amazement at Zhao Xin's plan and strategy, as well as her decisiveness to retaliate against those who harmed their profit. As for the two eldest brothers, they plopped to the floor, their eyes losing colors as they wished to disappear from the scene. They could feel and sense that the shareholders had lost all shreds of hope for them. In other words, their time in the company might be over. What a marvelous plan, CEO Xin. Ms. Chun suddenly clapped, her expression brightening up. I support Project Genesis. I also support Project Genesis. Count me in as well. Soon, every shareholder was in agreement with Zhao Xin's big project. They were shrewd and naturally understood what Zhao Xin truly meant in her last sentence. Meanwhile, Zhao Xin smiled brightly as she sat comfortably in her seat while glancing at her two lifeless brothers. Me trapped? How humorous. Chapter 96. Be a coolie. As Zhao Xin managed to win the shareholders' trust and funds, she bid them farewell, saving the next discussion of Project Genesis for another time. After all, it was a multi-billion project, so much planning was needed now that they agreed to it. Not to mention, they needed time to comprehend what just happened, especially how there were two traitorous bastards in the company. What shareholders despised the most was people harming their profits. They invested to earn money and not to lose money. And those who deliberately caused them to lose money were essentially their enemy. However, since the two traitors were family of the Zhao, it would be an overreach for them to teach them a lesson. Additionally, it could be considered a favor to Zhao Xin, allowing her to clean up this mess internally. Sometime later, the meeting room was left with Zhao Xin, her assistant, and two brothers. My two dearest eldest brothers, the shareholders have left. You could drop the act now, Zhao Xin said, her voice a blend of steel and disdain. Zhao Hong's finger trembled uncontrollably as he pointed at her, his voice filled with a raw mix of fury and disbelief. Why you set this trap for us? Meanwhile, Zhao Ming remained silent, his head lowered and deep in thought. His eyes flickered with realization and a hint of fear as he looked up at Zhao Xin, searching for answers in her composed demeanor. He lifted his head up, gazed at Zhao Xin, and asked nervously, "Does grandfather know about this?" Grandfather? Fear instantly erupted in Zhao Hong's expression at the mere mention of his grandfather. What do you think I obtained the footage and images from? Zhao Xin responded to them with a question of her own. It was as if a truck had crashed into them, or a boulder crushed every bone of them, or possibly even struck by lightning. The two brothers were frozen on the spot. And no, how can that be possible? Yeah, grandfather wouldn't be that ruthless to his own blood. Sighing softly at their pathetic reaction, Zhao Xin stood up and said, "I've given the two of you many chances. Before this meeting happened, I had repeatedly told your secretary to relay my warning, but I guess they didn't care." My secretary? Zhao Hong's mouth twitched as he clenched his fist. That damn slut didn't relay shit to me. He roared angrily, stood up, and dashed away from the meeting. Without even needing an expert to explain, it was quite evident that Zhao Hong was going after his secretary. Sai, get the security team ready. Anna, lest this brother of mine might beat the secretary to death. Zhao Xin sighed exhaustively. Despite the fact that she could just let it happen and send her brother to jail, she could only put a close lid on this matter and resolve it internally. Besides their family blood, exposing this matter would cause a sharp drop in their stock and might even lose the trust of others in their company. This was also another reason why the other shareholders decided to let her handle this matter internally. Elder brother, you should return to grandfather and seek forgiveness now. Otherwise, it's hard to tell if you would be a coolie. Zhao Exen patted his shoulder and said, a coolie was essentially a low-wage worker, and with his huge mistake this time, it wouldn't be surprising if he got kicked out of the Zhao family and forced to work in a low-end job. After all, his temper was not the greatest, and having offended many people, without the backing and support of the Zhao family, his life would be miserable. You really are a good little sister. Zhao Ming laughed hysterically, stood up, and exited the meeting room, his footsteps uneven, as his silhouette slowly disappeared from the scene. Anna Lu stepped forward and comforted, there's nothing else you could do. Oh, accent. They chose this path, and you only did what's good for the company. Smiling bitterly, Zhao Exan shook her head. Why must all rich families always fight to the bitter end for some more wealth? Could they even bring it to their grave? If we just work together, then we could rise even further as a family. It's human greed. Just look at me. I'm only working as your personal assistant because of his salary. Anna Lu suddenly said. Zhao Exan rolled her eyes at Anna. Her attempt in trying to lighten the atmosphere and mood was evident. Right, those secretaries that didn't warn my eldest brothers. Although I don't want them to be beaten to death, I also don't want to see them in the company anymore. She said coldly. Her expression turned fierce. Anna Lu nodded her head. Rest assured, CEO XIN. I have already sent a termination notice to them all and informed all amicable companies of them being blacklisted. I doubt they would be able to get another job in this industry. Not enough. These secretaries failed their job miserably and forced my hands to choose this route. I'm sure they helped my brothers in embezzlement. She trailed off near the end, but it was enough for Anna Lu to comprehend her intention. Understood. Anna Lu flatly responded as she made a few texts on her mini tablet. She was going to inform someone to do the dirty work in sending these secretaries to their new life in prison. How many years? She subsequently asked. How many years have my brothers colluded with those in the Feng enterprise? Instead of giving a direct response, Zhao Xin brought up another question. Anna Lu pondered for a moment and calculated silently before answering. 5 years. Then 5 years it is. Zhao Xin waved her hand, dismissing Anna Lu as she got an incoming phone call. Her fierce expression swiftly softened up as she connected the call. Little Kai, what were you doing earlier, huh? You don't want this elder sister anymore and want to ignore her now? She said somewhat teasingly. Haha, I was just busy playing a game. Zhao Kai's voice resounded through the phone as he laughed heartily. Earlier I was stocking on some food, so I missed your phone call. What did you call me for? Chapter 97. Respect Card. Having heard his little brother's voice, albeit not born from the same mother, Zhao Xian was relieved to know at least there was one sibling of hers who wasn't out to get her. Nothing, just checking on you and seeing if you're in any trouble, she said sweetly, her fierce and ruthless demeanor from moments ago completely gone. With elder sister supporting me, what trouble can I be in? If there's nothing else, then I'll disconnect. I'm still somewhat busy. Zhao Kai laughed. Let elder sister see your face first. Zhao Xian suddenly requested, most likely to check on his appearance and condition to ensure nothing was wrong. All right then, but don't be mesmerized by my handsomeness. Zhao Kai responded, having understood her thought process as he turned on the video feature. Soon, the two met face to face, and Zhao Kai proceeded to perform a 360-degree turn to let her see he was energetic and healthy. Grandfather's birthday is coming up soon in 3 days, so have you thought of a gift? Zhao Xian smiled and inquired. Huh? Stunned, Zhao Kai nearly tripped and fell. Grandfather's birthday? Why would I bring him a gift? He questioned back. His identity as an illegitimate child was known to them all, so he never had the privilege to dine with them. Though he couldn't be bothered with that so-called privilege, either, since the only person he respected was Zhao Xian, someone who didn't care for his status and treated him like a real little brother. Shush, I have talked with grandfather, and he has permitted you to join us for his upcoming 65th birthday party. So you better think deeply about what kind of gift to bring. Zhao Xian reprimanded him and demanded. Her firm attitude and expression on her face made it clear that she did not want to hear any refusal. But elder sister, no but. Unless you no longer respect me. Otherwise you must show up. Having brought up the respect card, Zhao Kai was left speechless. How was he supposed to refuse if she decided to use that card? It was a card that she rarely used, so it was immensely effective against him. Ugh, fine, it's in 5 days, right? Zhao Kai scratched his head and said reluctantly. It's 3 days. Zhao Xin quickly corrected. I'll have my personal assistant reminding you constantly. So don't you dare make any excuse or make any appointments on that date. You're the boss, elder sister. Sighing exhaustedly, Zhao Kai soon bid farewell and disconnected the call. As he placed the phone down, he began cursing at Su Feng for telling him to log out temporarily. It's all Feng's fault. If I just continued to hide, then elder sister wouldn't have been able to trap me. He clicked his tongue, putting back his virtual helmet as he logged into the divine world. Sometime later, Zhao Kai reappeared in the Verdant Valley, followed by a casual remark from Su Feng. Welcome back. Su Feng waved, remaining ignorant of the phone call conversation that Zhao Kai just had. However, his keen perspective was able to come into play as he noticed something was amiss with him. What's the matter? He asked cautiously, getting ready to be prepared for any sudden movement from him. What's the matter, you asked? Zhao Kai laughed maniacally as he raised his finger and pointed at him. Why did you tell me to log out in the first place? If I hadn't logged out and answered my elder sister's call, then I wouldn't be in such deep shit. Zhao Kai felt as if Su Feng had purposely dug this hole for him personally to fall into as some petty revenge. Su Feng shrugged his shoulders in response, feigning innocence, as if he would reveal the fact that Anna Lu paid him quite a hefty price in exchange for Zhao Kai's whereabouts. It was easy money that required no hard work, so why would he refuse such an offer? Not to mention, he was somewhat familiar with Zhao Kai's half-elder sister, Zhao Xin. They were quite close, so he didn't feel bad about connecting these two. Ugh, you've really screwed me over this time, Feng. Zhao Kai shouted in frustration, feeling fatigued just by thinking about what kind of gift he should bring to his supposed grandfather. He wasn't afraid of his opinion, but he knew fairly well that his elder sister would haunt him dearly if the gift was unsuitable. I can sense you are frustrated, so why don't you activate the gluttony skill and binge eat? It's a good method to vent. Su Feng suddenly suggested like a devil's whisper to the current downcast Zhao Kai. Sure enough, Zhao Kai was too overwhelmed to think properly and simply did as told, turning on his gluttony skill. Soon, he began to retrieve the food that he had just brought from Oakwood Town as he began a feast all by himself. As his tongue tasted the umami and enhanced flavor of the food, he shortly forgot everything. Food was the supremacy, and all matters could be put aside for now. Meanwhile, Su Feng smiled wickedly by the side. His glasses made a sharp glint as he gazed at the food, indulging Zhao Kai. Very good, Kai. You saved me so much effort in convincing yourself to binge eat to buff your stats. He exclaimed inwardly, calculating the time that the monsters would arrive. Previously, when he completed another business deal with Gentle Wind yet again, he received a message from Zhao Zin's personal assistant, Anna Lu. That was when he deduced something was upcoming, and as he pondered over and over again, he recalled Zhao Kai's grandfather's 65th birthday should be coming soon. In the past timeline, they were supposed to hang out briefly before he officially commenced his role in the newly established Reaver Guild, but that didn't go as planned due to Zhao Kai suddenly bailing out, citing attending his grandfather's birthday. Back then, Zhao Kai was gloomy and unenthusiastic, so he predicted a similar situation might occur. Hence, he used the time that Zhao Kai had logged out to brew a monster lure for him to hunt ferociously to let off some steam. I am indeed a great friend. Su Feng complimented himself, feeling proud of his deed. Chapter 98 opened up as Su Feng felt proud for utilizing Zhao Kai to his utmost ability. He almost wanted to give himself a pat on the back. Just how great a friend was he? Anyone would be envious and jealous of Zhao Kai. Either way, I still need to give some warning to him without being too obvious. After much joking aside, Su Feng needed to ensure that his disappearance wouldn't happen in this timeline. Because he didn't attend his grandfather's birthday, Given it was somewhat impolite and out of line, he failed to understand what had undergone in the party. Hence, he wouldn't make the same mistake. Kai, have you ever introduced me to your family? Su Feng walked toward him and suddenly asked. Huh? No, I don't think so. Still stuffing his mouth with food, Zhao Kai responded in a somewhat muffled tone. You've only known about my elder sister and her personal assistant, and that's about it. I don't talk to my family much after my mother died. Is that so? Then shouldn't you think it's time that I meet with your family since we've been friends for a long time? You want to meet them? Are you sure? What do you mean by, am I sure? Pausing his eating temporarily, Zhao Kai placed his food down and gazed at him with a solemn expression. Aside from my elder sister, most of my family members are snobby as fuck. You might vomit at the mere sight of their appearance. He warned sternly. So are you sure you still want to meet with them? Naturally, Su Feng chuckled softly. You should know I am an orphan, so I don't even have a snob family to begin with. At the very least, you have your mother and elder sister's love. I don't even know my parents' face. With Su Feng revealing his past, Zhao Kai suddenly remained silent. A few seconds later, he lowered his head and apologized. My bad. I didn't mean to have you bring that up again. No worries. I gave up trying to care about them and wonder why they abandoned me. They might have given birth to me, but they don't control my life. Su Feng took a seat, grabbed one of the untouched foods, and ate as he reassured him. Maybe he was still somewhat resentful and sentimental in the past, but he no longer cared about those anymore. So what if they abandoned him? This was his life, and he would live as he pleased with or without them. They could be rotting in some prison or the usual cliché of pressure from opposing families to separate them. He doesn't care. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai felt somewhat bad for almost carving another wound in his past, so he nodded. My elder sister wants me to attend my grandfather's 65th birthday party. I can bring you along as an opportunity to meet with my family, and you can help me choose a gift in the meantime. He said, light-hearted, seemingly trying to lighten the atmosphere. Sure, then it's decided. Su Feng quickly clasped his hands and agreed, concealing his true motive, as if he truly wanted to meet with his family. What he wanted to do by attending was to see who attempted or wanted to harm him. Although Zhao Kai was not an orphan like him, ever since he lost his mother, the two could be said to be in a similar situation. Thus, they clicked and vibed well together, and they remained great friends for a long time. It was only a shame that the friendship began to shatter when Su Feng took on another path and Zhao Kai's subsequent disappearance. This had been one of his greatest regrets in the past. To lose a longtime friend was not an easy phase, especially when you don't know how and when they vanish from your life. As the two continued to eat merrily, Zhao Kai smiled melancholy. You know, Feng, as an illegitimate child, my mother always wanted me to be a part of the Zhao family, even till her death. But not once had they ever shown a flash of sympathy except for my elder sister. He clenched his fist and said with a hoarse tone, if you hadn't been by my side and elder sister, I'm afraid I might storm into the Zhao mansion and make a scene, asking them why they are so cruel to my mother and what makes them think they are superior. The more he opened up, the more agitated he was becoming. Zhao Kai's carefree and easygoing nature was all a facade he put on the surface to conceal his anger, a deep anger that was always on the verge of exploding. His eyes started to turn red from the fury he was trying to retain. His hands clenched into fists, knuckles whitening as his voice grew louder and more strained with each word. Noticing his anger seemed to begin to spiral out of control, Su Feng quickly placed his palm on his shoulder, clenching it somewhat tightly. No words needed to be said. Once he sensed Zhao Kai was returning to normal, he consoled. The hard times are over, and I'm sure your mother would hate to see you fall into anger and lose yourself. Yeah, you're probably right. My mother always told me to not hate them, even on her deathbed. She said it was a choice she made, but I just couldn't let it go. Then don't let go. Huh? But didn't you just say my mother would hate to see me fall into anger? Startled and baffled, Zhao Kai gazed at Su Feng, seemingly wondering if he was being a hypocrite. Su Feng flicked his fingers on Zhao Kai's forehead as he subtly understood the meaning behind his gaze. I only said your mother hates to see it, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. Besides, who said anger could not turn into motivation and dedication? He rolled his eyes at Zhao Kai and snorted coldly. Since the Zhao family refused you, then all you need to do is gain control of their very lifeline, the Zhao Enterprise. At that time, who dares to deny you or disrespect your mother? Chapter 99. Lures Su Feng's seemingly outrageous proposal struck Zhao Kai like a thunderbolt. To take control of the Zhao Enterprise? It was easier said than done when he had practically zero shares of the company, much less any money to even afford 1% of it. Stop joking with me, Feng. Zhao Kai waved his hand and brushed aside the outrageous proposal. You don't believe me? Su Feng smirked in response when he saw the lackluster reaction. However, deep down, Su Feng knew his outrageous proposal was actually something he had been trying to do. He just never had the opportunity or the capital to actualize the plan. Do you know the divine world is not as simple as you look, Kai? Su Feng suddenly said. Confused as expected, Zhao Kai tilted his head, seemingly unsure of what he was trying to highlight. I've made the salary of someone working in a big company in one day through the divine world. He subsequently revealed, dropping a few more hints to him. Such revelations were something Su Feng would most likely never do. But Zhao Kai was someone he trusted. After all, when he was down and nearly starving to death, it was him who showed up and helped him through those difficult times. Hence, it was a risk he was willing to take. And if Zhao Kai really betrayed this trust, then Su Feng could only accept it as another lesson. At the very least, he realized it early on and prevented more damage in the future. However, if he didn't, then Su Feng would want Zhao Kai by his side and assist in the grand plan he had for the divine world. Being alone was naturally not wrong, but once he expanded further, Su Feng would require more trusted aides to assist him. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai's mouth hung open in disbelief, his eyes wide and his brow furrowed. I'm sorry, what? He gasped, trying to confirm that he merely listened wrong. You didn't hear wrong, Kai. My earnings in one day of the divine world surpassed multiple corporate office workers' salaries. Su Feng calmly said it again. That's exactly why I'm confused. Zhao Kai stood up and shouted, his eyes staring at him deeply. You said you earned so much, but your tone and expression are calm. It's like the money you earned isn't something to celebrate, which makes it hard to believe your nonsense. I sent a bank statement of my account balance to you. So why don't you log out and see if I'm lying? If you think I want. In the very next seconds, Zhao Kai logged out, only to log back in a few minutes later with a stunned expression. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva, retreated a few steps, and looked at Su Feng with an unfamiliar gaze. Are you still the same Feng I know? He asked in a disbelief tone. How did you earn that much money in a game that just published? Suddenly, Zhao Kai paused his sentence midway as he subtly recalled the current hype that had been happening everywhere in the town. It can't be? He lowered his head and mumbled, seemingly unable to comprehend that Su Feng was the man behind the hot commodity that nearly caused a war between multiple renowned guilds. You were that mysterious seller of the fire resistance potion? Zhao Kai pointed at him and said in shock, his fingers trembling rapidly. Never once did he expect his great friend to be the man causing such a storm. When did he become such a shrewd and capable man? Well, it was not meant as an insult, but what Su Feng did with his antics was definitely not something he should have been able to do unless one had numerous years of experience. Su Feng smiled briefly, stood up, and said, Now you've seen my capabilities, but make sure to not tell a single soul about this. Of course, I'm not stupid enough to tell this to anyone. Zhao Kai rolled his eyes and snorted. Such confidential information was meant to be hidden, and he understood just how much trust Su Feng placed in him by revealing this secret to him. Anyway, what are you going to do with all that money? He subsequently asked, seemingly intrigued with his plan. At the same time, he could also give his own input to help the latter out a bit. To invest further, Su Feng flatly replied, The money might seem abundant to a normal family, but it's far from enough for my goal and your goal. Nodding his head in agreement, Zhao Kai knew that Su Feng's wealth of close to $500,000 could barely affect anyone at the top hierarchy. Whatever then, just let me know what to do by that time. Zhao Kai suddenly flexed his muscles and said, I've nothing to do anyway since my elder sister usually sends me money, so I'm always free. Smiling, Su Feng fixed his glasses as he took a few steps back. There is something that you can do for me now. What is it? By killing the monsters who have been attracted by my lure. By the time Su Feng finished speaking, numerous silhouettes from afar started to appear. Growling noises echoed through the verdant valley, and the ground seemed to be shaking from the fervor of the approaching monsters. As the growling grew louder, the first of the stone-hide boars came into view. These hulking creatures were covered in thick, stone-like plates that glinted dully in the faint light. Their small, bloodshot eyes were filled with fury, and their tusks, jagged and sharp, jutted menacingly from their mouths. Muscles rippled beneath their armored hides as they charged forward, snorting and pawing at the ground with their powerful hooves. Zhao Kai twitched his brows at the sight of these agitated, stone-hide boars. "Aren't your lures a bit too strong, Feng?" he asked in a nervous tone. "Feng? Where did you go, Feng? Fuck, you actually ditched me here alone?" Chapter 100. Where are you aiming? As Zhao Kai remained in his original position, the stone-hide boars all had their eyes locked on him. Any sudden movement from Zhao Kai would most likely trigger a violent reaction from them. Thus, Zhao Kai didn't dare to make any movement that might provoke them. At the same time, he was silently cursing at Su Feng. This damn Feng really ditched me without even giving me any warnings. To think I even opened up to him earlier and treated him like a real brother. Zhao Kai gritted his teeth, realizing how insidious Su Feng was being. Using his eyes to wander around to inspect the surroundings, Zhao Kai finally took notice of the seating that Su Feng was on earlier. In there, it had a small note that stated, "The stone-hide boar's armors are tough to destroy, so aim for their tiny legs to immobilize them. But make sure to keep your distance and continue to run around in a randomized manner to avoid being surrounded and pounced on." How generous of you, Feng. His fingers trembled uncontrollably from disbelief. He swore that he would definitely make Su Feng pay dearly for using him as bait once again. Stop standing there in a daze. The stone-hide boars are merely pondering what to do with you currently. So, if you let them finish thinking, you're dead meat. A voice suddenly echoed from above, snapping him out of his daze. Startled, Zhao Kai finally looked up and realized Su Feng had actually climbed up a tree branch and was overseeing the situation from there. "You, how could you just climb up there and leave me here?" Zhao Kai raised his finger and pointed at him somewhat agitatedly. Meanwhile, Su Feng shrugged his shoulders in response. He would be a fool to redo the previous embarrassing situation in which he needed to run away like a rat from the enemy. By positioning him in the tree branch, Su Feng ensured his safety and minimized the chances of the stone-hide boars going after him. Naturally, Zhao Kai also understood this point, but understanding and accepting were two different matters. How could Su Feng be so wickedly evil and do exactly what he was going to do if their situation were swapped? Ugh, at least tell me how to fight them. Zhao Kai pulled up the iron bolt rifle that had been hanging on his back and said, "They have too many, and look at their bloodshot eyes. Those lures of yours are too strong." Right after he said that, Su Feng was going to instruct him on how to fight, but Zhao Kai curled his lips upward, flashing a menacing grin. With swift action, Zhao Kai raised his iron bolt rifle, angled his gun, and fired precisely at the tree branch that Su Feng was taking cover. Bang! The iron bolt rifle bullet penetrated the tree branch fiercely, and it cracked and splintered under the impact. The once sturdy branch groaned under Su Feng's weight before snapping entirely, no longer capable of supporting him. And, as if he was attempting a free-falling style that people usually do when jumping out of a helicopter to parachute around, Su Feng was out of luck to have fallen straight down, without any supporting gears. After all, he didn't expect the tree branch to be shot by this devious Zhao Kai. Su Feng crashed on the ground, creating a loud thump sound as he took some fall damage, causing his health to drop as he slowly attempted to get up. "What are you doing, Shadowblade?" Su Feng questioned in disbelief. "Are you trying to commit a team kill?" "No, I'm just preventing someone from baiting his teammate while he camps in a corner and waits until the coast is clear." "Damn it. Do you think this is some first-person shooter 5v5 game?" in providing you great support and vision coverage by being above. Despite Su Feng's explanation, Zhao Kai faked a shiver as he shook his head repeatedly. No, I'm a timid person, so I'm scared of being alone with all these boars wanting to pound me to death with their strong paws. With you by my side now, I can be reassured. Zhao Kai chuckled softly. He then wrapped his arm around his shoulder and grinned. Besides, we're brothers, so although we aren't born at the same time, we could die at the same time. At this point, Su Feng regretted trying to warn and assist him from above, exposing his location. Who said he was shameless? Clearly, it was Zhao Kai who was the real shameless to even utter such words without any hesitation. Thanks a lot, Shadowblade. Su Feng flashed a difficult smile and pointed at the boars. That shot you wasted on my tree branch has ruined my plan. What you just did was provoke them to the maximum. Huh? Confused, Zhao Kai hurriedly turned around and glanced at the situation. The stone-hide boars, massive and bristling with rocky armor plating, began to paw the ground aggressively. Their tiny, red-rimmed eyes glinted with rage as they fixed on Zhao Kai. Steam puffed from their snouts with each agitated breath, and their powerful legs dug into the earth, ready to charge. In the next moment, numerous stone-hide boars started to rush forward aggressively, leaving a pile of dust behind them. Finally frightened, Zhao Kai retreated slightly and asked Su Feng, "What do we do now?" He raised his iron bolt rifle, seemingly trying to shoot at one of them in a futile attempt. No matter who he shot, the end result was going to be trampled to death. At least that was what Zhao Kai had in mind. With a calm reaction, Su Feng fixed his glasses and pushed Zhao Kai aside. He then took another step forward and cast Sacred Fire. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai watched in confusion as he couldn't comprehend how that powerless fire was going to help. Nevertheless, he kept silent, putting his trust in Su Feng. Soon, the boar's distance on reaching them was no less than 3 meters, and it was at this time that Su Feng threw his Sacred Fire. However, Zhao Kai nearly fainted on the spot at his horrendous aim. "Where are you aiming?" His eyes widened in shock as the Sacred Fire completely missed any of the boars and fell on some ground.